Within the past few hundred years, the Caribbean region has become home to a plethora of cultures. These cultures brought with them their special blend of foods and ingredients. Perhaps most importantly, they brought their methods of preparing those foods and ingredients. Each island has something unique to offer the massive and oh so delicious collection that makes up Caribbean cuisine. Anguilla, known for its baby powder white beaches and crystal clear water, and I do mean crystal clear. Trust me, it's ridiculous. You have to see it. Is also known for its culinary scene as well. The food is awesome. Growing up around Anguilla's charming food scene is what allowed Kerth Gumbs to develop his eclectic palate. A chance opportunity to join a food and nutrition class while in high school would further usher him into the world of culinary arts. More than a decade on, and several adventures in kitchens throughout Europe and Asia, Kerth is now the executive chef at one of London's top restaurants. Here's the story, thus far, of Chef Kerth Gumbs. I am Crispin Brooks, and this is Planet 30. He is a master chef and one of the stars of Great British Menu. Kerth Gumbs, welcome to Planet 30.
Hi, thank you for having me, man.
It's a pleasure. Now, you are from a tiny little island in the Caribbean, Anguilla, correct?
That's correct.
Tell me, what does Anguilla mean to you?
Well, Anguilla is that backbone of strength and drive. You know, that's what it means to me, because for all the experiences, mostly bad and good, growing up on the little island, that helped me to really push and propel myself forward to try to make a better life for myself. And when you think back of home, you have to think about those experiences. And if I think about those experiences, I'm thinking of my now and I'm thinking of my future.
Got it. So it's definitely deep motivation.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what it is, to sum it up. It's motivation.
Got it. Now, in my research, come to find out you were a top dancer. Tell me about that. Was the dream to be a dancer or to be a chef, or was it something else?
You know what? I was actually it's a hobby. And I still love dancing now. But growing up in Anguilla, I was maybe most known or popular around three sectors. It would have been dancing. You know, we had a little dance group, the Trendsetters, and performing in carnivals and just doing whatever it is. Wherever a pan plays, you'll see Kurt somewhere walking up himself, you know. And I was also good with athletics, track and field. You know, I was world championships in 2002, Edmonton, Canada. Okay. And then after that, you know, it was the cooking thing as well. So I was always like associated around these three elements of things.
What events did you do in track and field?
I did 800 and 400 meter.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Didn't know that. Tell me, what are your first memories of falling in love with food, and in particular cooking?
I think that would be, you know, growing up. I mean, everyone would know my mother, Daphne. She cooks for hotels, parties, bar mitzvahs, funerals, whatever. She always catered for everything on the island, from birthday cakes and weddings and funerals, as I say. And a lot of times people would be like, "Oh, Daphne, the food was so good, you know, can we have that again? Should we do this again?" And I'll be like, "No, we can't do that again. It's like someone just died," you know what I mean? Like, but the sense of that is like she was bringing, you know, smiles and appreciation to people's faces and homes through food. And I used to witness that a lot of times. And that's what I wanted to be able to, give that back to people so they can witness that, and the smiles and so forth. It was something that really resonated with me in terms of what I remember growing up. And being in the kitchen, she was always making cakes and always doing rum cakes, particularly, which is something traditional for the Caribbean. And, me as a young kid, sticking my finger in, tasting the rum cake batter, that was one of my first foodie memories, growing up around my mother and through all the different food and catering that she was doing.
So I guess the love for cooking was really started in your kitchen at home. Did that spark the Chef Kerth? Did that spark the beginning of the journey?
I would say that was something I was familiar with. But what really sparked it for me is, when you go to the school, high school, you have in fourth form, you had a choice of auto mechanics, food, nutrition, and woodwork.
Indeed.
And on the day of making my own assessments, I walk around, I would look into the auto mechanics class, I would look into the woodworks class, and everybody was in there, which is mostly boys, just banging away on things, ting, pa, 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 ping, 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 doing their thing, being boys. And I was never really, attracted to that. And it was quite daunting for me as well, to be honest. And when I walk around and I looked into the food nutrition class, I saw 16 girls, 2 boys. I was like, woo, that's my class. I'm going in there. But in all fairness, honestly, it's like that was the motivation factor for me as well, is just thinking that at least if I choose food nutrition and whatever I cook, I'll also get to eat, because I come from humble beginnings, really rough period in time when I was younger, going to school as well. So I was never sure when the next meal was gonna be, but at least I knew that whether it's every Friday afternoon or a Thursday afternoon when we do food nutrition, whether it's gonna be a cake or pizza or whatever it is, if I gonna cook it and partake in that class, I would get to eat it. So I was quite familiar, quite looking forward to that, actually. So I chose food nutrition above the woodworks and auto mechanics. And shortly after joining the class, the teachers was pushing us and would always say, the boys are doing good, or can we get in groups? Can you compete like this? And soon after that, it was like the boys was really doing well, and as opposed to the girls was doing good as well, but the boys was, maybe because it was only 3 of us, we were shining, and that was a lot of engagement. I was Miss Foy. She would always say, Kurt, you're doing this, or that. And it was a way for me to challenge some of that energy that I had, and just tone it down and actually just cook. So I quite enjoyed going to food nutrition class, and a very respected teacher, Miss Foy, is someone I looked up to as well. So it was good. It was good.
Excellent, excellent. You always never know, what experience will push you into the direction that you need to go into, because here is it that you had options in terms of what classes to take, and the mere fact that you walked by the food and nutrition class and saw what was going on, that changed the trajectory of your life. That's interesting.
Yeah. It was. I always look back on it and I tell my story, and people laugh because now I'm not very. Up to this day, I'm not creative with my hands in terms of, if I order something from IKEA, I can't, put together closet or chest of drawers. That just does my head in. I can't, I'm not that kind of handyman. But then when it comes to food, in building and sculpting and using creativity and anything to do with my hands with food, then it's more on that artistic, timeline for me. I don't know. It's very difficult for me to say, but when it comes to looking at food and creating stuff and building it, whether it's going to be, 3D or horizontal or whatever it's going to be, I can try to do that with food, and I'm engaged. I'm very happy to want to walk out how to get it done. But when it comes to just taking a book and looking at a cupboard and want to screw and pound a nail here and there, that does my head in, man. No.
So you leave high school, having done food and nutrition, and then what? How do we get from high school in Anguilla to Kerth the Master Chef? What was the journey in between there?
Oh wow, that's gonna. All right then. So let me try to take you through it as it was. Yeah, finishing high school. I think me and my good friend, my best friend. His uncle is Hall, and obviously Hall has one of the leading bakeries in the island at that time as well. I mean, up to today. So
Yeah.
he had the equipment, the facilities for us to be able to do what we call Lemino's Pizza, and that just is a nickname of Domino's Pizza. And Lemino's Pizza was like, let me know what you want. So me and my friend Lyndon, we just did a
Brilliant.
pizzeria. Yeah, we did a pizzeria idea. Got into there in the night times and used their equipment and started doing pizza and selling pizza as a business for about a year. Um, after that, we were young as well, about 17 years old. So after that, we when it was time to try to do something else in terms of our career, I went to work in Captaluca, which is one of the leading five-star hotels on the island as well. But I didn't go as a chef. I went there as a waiter and an expediter to learn how to carry the trays and put on the plates and set your knife and forks and all that different parts of the etiquette of eating.
Mm-hmm.
And I would see the chefs in the kitchen, cooking and, flambeing their stuff. And I was always fascinated by it. But as it was for me, like a secondary thing because I was actually doing my track and field at the same time, which I had a scholarship for. And the scholarship would have been for January 2004. And I remember I had some issues the year before in 2003, like around August time, just after the carnival or whatever. I had some kind of like juvenile delinquent problems. And I mean, I'm not ashamed by it because that's how it was back in the island. That is, how I was growing up with always being forced to, protect yourself in a different manner. And the coaches at that time, they thought that it would have been best for me to, as a punishment, to suspend my scholarship from the January 2004 till September of 2004. And as a young adult coming up, I was like hot-headed, and I would be like, no, why? Because I'm the second fastest in the school. You know what I'm capable of. You know how my commitment, my dedication is, and I didn't really agree with it. Mm-hmm. So I've had like a bit of a dispute against it, and they've already made up their mind. I can't change it. I was hungry to leave the island, hungry to get the opportunity to do something better. But being young and hot-headed, I must have messed it up. They suspended my scholarship. That's life. I just looked at it at the next thing that I was going to be good at, and I spoke to my father like on a Friday. I took a weekend trip away to St. Martin and St. Kitts, came back on the Monday, and by the Tuesday afternoon, my father came with some papers. When I told him that I was thinking about cooking college, and he came with some papers for Le Cordon Bleu, which was in London, it was in California, it was in Tatola, and I was thinking about the one in Tatola because that's at a period in time during food nutrition, some scouts had come to the classroom, and I thought that would have been good because I'm not too far away. 1 hour away, I can get a plane ride back home whenever, weekend or so forth. No, my father actually found the school in London because he wanted me to get away from all that was going on, and for me to actually be in a busy city where I have bigger chances, more competition. And I was like, well, beggars can't be choosers. This is an opportunity. We discussed this in September of 2003, and by the 1st of January 2004, I was on a plane to London.
Wow.
Going to look. Yeah, it was super quick. And I didn't have no one. I didn't know anyone. Just walked into a hostel. I got my cousin who's from the island. He was in London at that time, and actually he was up here. And he came to meet me, showed me where I can settle in a hostel, showed me where the school was. And that was it. Just one day, someone just showed me something. And then from the second day, I would have to take the route. And because I was an athlete, I wouldn't even get on the bus. I would run behind the bus from bus stop to bus stop following the route so I can keep my bearings in mind and find out where I need to go. And I did that for about a week as well. Just home, run behind the bus, number 23 to the school. Home time, run behind the bus from the school to my hostel. Amazing. And I did that for a week. Yeah, just running. Never got onto the bus, never paid any bus fare. And I just did that because I wasn't sure. Everything was new to me. All the tubes, the trains, the buses, taxis, all that was new to me. So I didn't want to get lost. I was just trying to, take my basic instincts and use them to my advantage. So I did that. But once I went to Le Cordon Bleu and I got settled in, I studied a grand diploma in basic, intermediate, and superior pastry and cuisine. Mm-hmm. Once graduation from Le Cordon Bleu, I then was looking around trying to find a restaurant to work in. It wasn't that easy. Even like coming out of with a grand diploma from Le Cordon Bleu and going into a kitchen as right back down to the bottom, I wasn't even sure what does the diploma really represents. Right. Because I was thinking, I got a diploma, that means I paid a lot of money for this course. I'm going to be coming in, I'm going to be well equipped. Don't get me wrong, they showed you a lot of things, and it was all about the theories, the thesis, and the basics, intermediate and superior, yes, but when you go into the kitchen, you're still going right back down to ground zero. Right. You're actually nobody coming in with that little, shiny gold stump on your diploma. Because my first day in one of the kitchens, they asked me to go to the fridge to grab some chervil, and I go downstairs and I just didn't have a clue what that was. So I ended up picking up all the herbs, coming upstairs and presenting them to the chef, and everybody was like laughing at me because I was there in the kitchen on my trial day with my fancy school jacket on, and your ribbon and collar, and everybody thinking like, look at this kid. And I was laughed at. But then as I walked later on, I realized that the diplomas didn't really have value until I gave them value, until I become of value. That's when the diploma started to get value for it, to say, oh, Kerth Gumbs of alumni from Le Cordon Bleu, etc. But when I would just come as Kerth Gumbs from Le Cordon Bleu, it means absolutely nothing. Just that I've got, a chance to be in a top school, but it didn't really give me everything that I needed. And that was fine, because when I really landed my first job, and one of the chefs that I respect highly up to today, he saw a lot of passion to me, which, could be translated, there was a lot of anger. And, coming up in the Caribbean in tough environments, yeah, I had a temper, a very, very bad temper. But being in the kitchen is a place where that temper could be welcome if you gonna, focus and put it into something more of value, something worthwhile. In a kitchen, in the type of kitchens I was in, everyone had a temper, but temper was focused on setting up for service, focus on cleaning down, focus on getting the food right, mistakes. You work up for many years. Like I did 6 years of Michelin star kitchens, which is like really, really crazy hours. I was like 7 a.m. in the morning till 1 a.m. in the morning. Woo. And then back. Yeah, I did that like 16, 17 hours a day. And the amount of different, hard work and, tedious tasks that it would give you to do in the kitchen was mind-boggling. And anybody could say, oh, when I told the stories, oh, Kerth, but why do you take this or why you take that? Of course, the young Kerth could have been that, little temperamental kid and go in there and just do whatever and walk out. And but who would have been walking out on? I would have been walking out on myself. So because it was so physically challenging, I took it and tried to make the best of it. And after a while, like the 6 years of doing those kind of hours, I wanted to learn a bit more not about just food, because then by that time, like you can say like I knew how to cook, but I still didn't knew how to be a better me. I didn't know how to manage myself, manage my temperament to the best degree, and most importantly, I was at a stage where I had to be teaching and training a lot of other people under me, and that means you need a different level of patience. You need to say, when I was coming up, it's like if you're here and you're not here tomorrow, it's like nobody worries. It's a kuna matata. So I I just really had to push on. I went back to that chef that was a good mentor to me, and I went to learn more about the management side of things, because I think trying to be able to match the two together would have made me a stronger chef. And I did that with this guy again for kind of 2 years, and I missed the food that I was doing. I missed that adrenaline rush that I used to get from being in these fine dining kitchens. And everybody would say, "Oh, you're crazy, you're going back to it." But at the end of the day, I think if I didn't do it, and I didn't have a difficult story to tell, all the difficult experiences I've had through those years of working, then you wouldn't be able to look back and reflect on anything good, because anybody that wants to be somebody probably had a difficult story to tell. And I always try to take those, view those negative things and look at them as positives. So when I get back into the fine dining kitchen and so forth, I then said, I wanted to make myself an asset to myself, and how I would be able to do that would be, I need some international experience. I need to be able to say and have a better talking point of reference to say, I've worked in this good restaurant, that good restaurant, this Michelin star, that Michelin star, this hotel, that hotel. But then you need on your resume as well, you need to be able to have some international experience. So I decided to and I moved to Southeast Asia. I lived in Singapore for about 3 years. And again, I did that off the bat without knowing anybody. Maybe I knew 2 people in Singapore at the time, and that's it. I took that move, went and tried to make the best of that experience, which was quite good as well, because I loved Thai food, I love Asian food, I love Vietnamese, and it was good for me to be able to be a bit more diverse in not just the modern British cuisine that I was learning, but then be able to use a bit more of that
Asian flavor.
Yeah, Asian flavors. And to be honest, living in Southeast Asia, it reminded me of the Caribbean. The seas was beautiful, the people was nice, the fruits and vegetables was more on the tropical side than what I would find in London. And I was quite happy to have done that. So, I did that 3.5 years. Then, eventually a project that I wanted to do over there kind of fell through as well, and that made me make a decision to move back to London. And I've been back in London ever since, and just on the same platform of working to try to make myself a better me, whereas not just staying at one position, but actually, challenging myself. Right now where I work in Omer Mayfair, it's actually, very center of London. It has a certain clientele, and it's good because it reflects the kind of food that I've been training that I was doing. And I was faced with a lot of stereotypical point of views, like many times when customers would meet the chef and they were like surprised to see that I'm not doing jerk chicken and rice and peas or whatever, When they see the chef comes out and he's a black man with dreadlocks, you get that little twinkle in the eye of surprise. And it wasn't in a bad way all the time, but at the end of the day, it was good for me to be able to, learn my craft in the same format or same shade of rooms that, the type of cuisine that most people was pushing over here for, to try to amount to accolades and so forth. So in a nutshell, I think I'm maybe missing a bit of any specifics you need to know, but yeah, it's been a long 16 years of just developing myself when it comes to food all around.
No, that's I mean, that was wonderful. I mean, very intriguing. What cuisine would you say is your specialty? I mean, if any.
I think I'm Asian flavors. And I guess when you're looking at a part of having some kind of identity, it's more or less the way I apply certain methods and techniques to ingredients that will make it a style. For now, it's always been modern European. But say, for instance, if I was in the Caribbean, it would be modern techniques on Caribbean produce. So then what do you call it? I was thinking about this a couple of years back, and I was like, would it be called Caribbean Because I'm originally from the Caribbean. I love Asian flavors, and then it's fusion. And what is fusion? What is the Caribbean? It's that's exactly what the Caribbean is. It's a fusion of islands and cuisines and cultures, all presented in that archipelago. So, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you mentioned that you cook for a few Michelin star restaurants. I mean, this is a big deal. What are some of the restaurants what are the names of some of those restaurants?
So I used to work for Tom Akins, which is a big celebrity chef in the UK. He's had a lot of great proteges that's fallen off of came from his kitchens or leadership, not just in London but around the world. I've also worked for Joel Robichon. The late Joel Robichon, he actually died about a year or two ago. And he's a chef that has been celebrated for having the most Michelin stars throughout the world. And in every country that he opened a restaurant, he's had a Michelin or 2 Michelin stars in. I was part of his team that opened the first Joel Robichon in 2007 in London. We got 1 star. Then I worked for the next year. We got 2 stars, and then I left. Then I also worked for Jason Atherton. He's probably now one of the most renowned celebrity chefs, who as well hold a numerous amount of restaurants around the world with high accolades. I did his restaurant in Singapore, which was a tapas bar, a esquina, and then I also went to open up his experimental cocktail bar with a cafe onto it late in the next year following. I've also worked for Aggie Severin, who comes from Institute from La Manoir. He's an Icelandic chef and has as well a Michelin star for his Scandinavian cuisine. The list kind of goes on, but those are the most
people dream of working for one Michelin star restaurant. You have worked for several. No, so clearly you're talented. But do you ever get intimidated, like approaching some of these chefs, or knowing their reputations?
Yeah. It's actually you're signing up for. I don't want to make it sound bad, but you're signing up for, your own personal abuse, because, you're going to know that the hours are going to be crazy. You're going to know that your salary is going to be next to nothing. You're going to know that the work that you're going to be doing inside the kitchen is going to be very mental, tedious, and it was excruciating. So you're intimidated by the food. You're intimidated by the profile of the chefs. At the same point in time, it is a pulling factor, because in order for you to want to better your craft, you're going to have to accept what they got. I can't go in and change any of that. I just got to endure it and see what I can suck up like a sponge. And then now when I find myself in a position like where I'm at, I do a lot of things different to what has been given to me, because I think that was an important thing, where not everyone was always willing to teach you anything. I always had to be peeping over people's shoulders, waiting for that day of an opportunity. And I tell my chefs a lot of times now, if you're doing that same section for 3 months, you're gonna have that down. It's methodic. You have to be methodic. You got to be consistent. You got to be time management. So once you got that down for 3 months, you should be freeing up, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and get yourself over onto another section and peeping around and trying to learn as much more as you can. But back then, in those times, the chefs wasn't like, oh, Kerth, come and see this, oh, Kerth, come and see that. I would just be peeping and looking, seeing how he makes his sauce, how does he fillet his fish, what does he put in his draw, what does he put in that dish. And then one day, actually, at Tom Aikens, the sous chef who was on a section, he called sick, and nobody ever really calls sick, because that means you're gonna have a hell of a week the next week following if you come back to work. So you don't ever really call sick. Anyways, this happened, and they were looking for someone to jump on the section because we were already tight, and I was like, Chef, I can do it. And I've never done it before. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. Let's give you a chance. And I gone over there, and I jump on, and fundamentally, it was a very difficult service. I got a lot of things wrong, but I think what they saw is that I knew where things was going. I knew how to set up the parts. I knew how to set up things, and then they just needed to teach me the cuisson and the temperature on the meat. But I knew 70% of the things that no one had shown me anything. So that was quite good. And they used to always make joke of me in that kitchen back in the time, and I used to have a very strong accent, and they couldn't really understand what I was saying, and they'd be like, yeah, man, hey, man. They were always giving you the same man kind of story. And it's the same thing when I went to work in a French kitchen. They didn't speak any English whatsoever. I had to learn all my numbers in French to be able to cook this. I had to learn the whole menu of only what was pertaining to my section, as I was doing the meat. I had to learn all the dishes in French. You know, even when Mr. Robichon used to come over, he used to call me Pirate of the Caribbean, you know, because I used to wear a bandana back then and so forth. So it was funny. They have a different way of really connecting to the staff through the food. And, I really admire that, because everybody was really serious about the, where the food comes from and how it's grown and, how to treat it. And then the other restaurants, other Michelin star restaurants would be very on the, pushing, the boundaries of experimental. So I learned a lot of things from different kitchens.
How do you, I mean, this sounds overwhelming. How do you keep yourself together mentally and physically under such grueling circumstances?
Really, I don't know. I think very much so in my early years, like especially for the first maybe 8 years, thinking about my life back on the island and what I come from, and just I had a lot of anger, and I think that was as well a propeller of me really, really yearning to try to do something different, and all the things that was happening around me is you think that, oh, okay, you can't be focused. And many times, I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't focused in that way of being a person that would be just sane. I was focused on trying to make myself better. I was just swallowing and absorbing everything that was being dished out to me, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, and I'm just taking it. It's not about having to say it's a bad experience. I think that is my experience, and without that, I'm not sure what type of chef would I be now. Would I go and repeat the same thing to my chefs? No, but that doesn't mean the chefs of today doesn't see things differently to what I was seeing back then. So, staying focused was an everyday thing. I would practice, come home to my friends, my family, cook them dishes that I was seeing and trying in the restaurant with them. So I was doing all these little things just to try to keep some kind of normality to my mindset.
Interesting. What do you think is if you just had to pinpoint one thing, what do you most enjoy about your career?
What I most enjoyed about my career, I think.
Even today, what do you most enjoy? Like,
I love what I do, because I think, there's a saying going all the time. If you find a job that you love, you never feel like you have to work a day in your life. And I wake up, I'm the first chef in the kitchen, I leave late. Because why? Because I'm addicted. I love what I do. I love food. I love now being able to train chefs up in a manner that I wasn't, fortunate for me to have when I was coming through. I love being able to make something out of nothing, to make people happy through food, to open the curiosity, to do things that really on the boundaries of excitement from kids to adults alike. I love seeing people have the smiles. I love being able to do what my mom used to do for the people back on the island, but now on a much larger scale. I love that my career is something that keeps me involved mentally and emotionally, because when you have these things connected, you want to be able to be in a good place so you can create good food, and you can't just do it all the time from being angry or being sad, because all these things help to mess with your motivation, and you need to have motivation, which leads into dedication to your craft.
Indeed. What do you think is the conversely? What do you think is the toughest thing about being a chef?
I think the toughest things about being a chef is not being able to really see the rewards right away, until you actually put yourself out there. I think a lot of chefs are take it for granted, but you don't know where it comes from. I think me, myself, or the chef themselves, they have a part to play with it in terms of not just showing up at a kitchen and just there's some chefs that just see the clock and say, oh, you start from 8 and you finish at 5, and they look like they want to punch out. But you always have to be able to do that little extra, and hopefully if the chefs or whoever your hierarchy will be able to see that it's enthusiasm and you're there because of passion. And many times I think these things go unnoticed, and even right now in my position, I feel the same way a couple of years back. No matter the position, I feel like you're not taken advantage of, but taken for granted, and it's a little bit hurtful, because you work with a lot of your heart. I put in hours, and if you calculate salaries based on hours and what's not, you're not making that much, but you're giving everything that you can. I'm never switched off, whether it's a Sunday or it's a Monday or Tuesday, and maybe that's a bad thing, but I'm always there for my staff, and I'm always there for my employers. But and I think that should be just be able, if there was a way for people to, I don't know, I guess it's dealing with management, everybody has their own way to just try to recognize things a bit earlier on. And I think I hold myself back a long time in my career, previously, going under the radar, because not being, feeling that it was my time to really step out and do it. And then at the end of the day, I just came to a point and said, well, you know what, it's not happening now. When are you going to make it happen? Because I was doing stuff as a senior sous chef for like 5 years, doing the whole menus, doing this and that, and the head chef was, just using most of my stuff. But still, I was still not getting anything from it. No promotions, no better benefits, no nothing. But just doing it, and it was then again another way of me saying, you know what, at least I'm getting experience. And if you put that onto the menu and he used that dish and used that idea, then that's a nod to me, because I'm doing something right. I mean, I'm able to actually create a balanced dish with acidity, sweetness, saltiness, umami, whatever. So definitely, one of the disappointing things is about the acknowledgement for chefs. I think they get worked and not appreciated when they should be, and sometimes when they do comes with appreciation, it might be too late, and you kind of burn that wig out, and you feel like, what's the point?
And it's also very competitive. Let me ask you this: what are the 3 things that you would say to an aspiring chef, like who's probably thinking about the journey or just starting the journey? What are 3 definitive things that they must know before entering?
They must know that first they must make a conscious decision and say that they want to be a chef, and try to identify what type of chef they want to be. Not just, I'm not going against anything, but not just the ones that's going to go in and plod along. Because the minute you get into a kitchen and you see that you have that, and I think a lot of us from the Caribbean as well, we have this drag our foot kind of mentality, and you kind of just plod along. They will leave you there plodding along. They'll put you to just peel onions and chop shallots and do tomato confits, and you're not going to get anything interesting. And like I said earlier, like you have to look over your own shoulders and other people's shoulders to try to learn as much as you can. And then you find a buddying system. You know, not just the people or the kitchens where we're doing the best food, but also the people that help bring out the better qualities in you. And you got to be conscious of that as well, because, you know, not saying that everywhere has a good and a bad environment, but when you decide to how you want to associate it yourself with, that's totally up on you. And if you want to be a chef and you want to be a good chef, you just got to mentally say, listen, I'm going to go in, set that target. I'm going to do 1 year, do the year, regardless of what happens and goes, and do your time. And later on, it will, you know, you will come back to you, your rewards. So I think, most importantly, as an aspiring chef, they just have to be dedicated and committed. Don't be a quitter, because you're not quitting on the job, you're quitting on yourself. And don't get me wrong, that is some of the restaurants that you choose. Do your research before you just go into the kitchen. Maybe go and have a meal at that restaurant, or follow the chef, whether it's social media. But don't get too caught up and say, oh, it's all about social media, because half the time people look at social media and they see the food, but they love it and they want to go and learn how to do it, but they don't understand that there is a huge amount of work ethic that goes behind of making sure that dish comes out consistently every time the same way. That means you got to go in at this time, you got to finish at that time. That means you have this amount of elements to put into that dish. It got to be done, cut correctly, cooked correctly, this and this. And you might have the good days, you might have the bad days, but they're all just days that's going to add up to your profile and your resume. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Think about it. Riding the bike to work, that's something I used to do. When I catch the tube, I'm thinking of what my menu is on the tube. Any downtime you have, when you want to sleep, have your sleep. But if you're on your way to work, you know, from the tube or the walk from the tube to the restaurant, think about it. You know, the more you do and you think about it, it's going to become easier. Because things that we put ourselves off and we're afraid of or we're upset with, it's all a state of mind. So you just got to continuously think about them, and you'll be able to push through. And pushing through means actually just remain employed, remain at the job that you chose that you want to do, remain in the career that you want to do. Don't wait and you waste 10 years and then say, oh, I don't want to be a chef anymore, I want to be a plumber or whatever the case is. Nothing is wrong with any career, but I believe that, you know, food is the source that maintains us. And I think through every career in any job or any profession, you know, everyone needs to eat. So it's not a bad choice to become a chef.
Excellent advice. Kerth, would you change anything about your journey?
No, I won't change nothing about my journey. And I guess it's like cliche, and a lot of people will always say they won't change anything. But honestly, I don't see myself changing anything, because I think I've worked extremely hard. I've had times when my alarm goes off at 5:30 in the morning, and I chew my teeth, and I feel like I wanted to cry. You know, I had that kind of in my voice when you get it croaks and wanted to cry, because I actually had to go back in. But that was hard. It was hard work, and I'm not ashamed of having to do hard work to say change something in my career and do it easier. You know, my upcoming and my upbringing has been difficult, but then again, if it wasn't, then I wouldn't have this time here with you sharing this experience. And I hope people who've in similar backgrounds back home and so forth, having a delinquent upcoming, or could see that they can turn a lot of that unfiltered energy, that negative energy, that anger into positives. Because if you think you're angry or aggressive or bad, when you go into a kitchen, you're gonna find so much different tools that you're gonna need to apply that energy to. that are gonna just make you a bit more regulated. Because you want to be angry with yourself that you can't get this correct. Challenge yourself, be competitive. You want to fight with making yourself learn that section, making yourself do better on this dish or that, da da da. So you're taking the same things that you have all the time in you, and you're just making them get a different way of showcasing the best bits of yourself, the best bits of yourself.
Mm. Now you have a unique flair and a sense for fashion. Where did that come from, and does it translate to your dishes in terms of presentation and style?
I think yeah, my missus or my friends or whoever, they might say I'm a bit eccentric. But yeah, that's not a bad thing. You wanna? I think it does. My food is a bit vibrant, or can be described as a bit abstract. But then again, when you see Kerth Gumbs and then you see the style of food, and if you know me a little bit, then you probably be like, okay, yeah, I can see where that's coming from, and it all plays with people's minds, because they enough times I've had comments back before like, I don't cook the way I look, which means the image, but then that was a good thing, because when you do food, as you're eating through your eyes and so forth, food is something that brings us all together, and it's a focus point on it could be a focus point on conversation starter, especially in restaurants and fine dining restaurants. So I think it's a good thing that I have this type of style, which is maybe characterized as eccentric or a bit flamboyant.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
Here's a fun question for you. It's the basketball finals in the United States, and it's late at night, and of course you're in the UK, but you're watching a game or you're watching a movie or something late at night, and you go into the kitchen. What is Kerth Gumbs' go-to snack?
Late night in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be crisps. It's probably gonna be crisps. Yeah.
Now, do you make your own crisps? Do you?
Not when I'm home, to be honest. You know what? Out of all the cooking and stuff you do, I'll cook and I put the same level of attention to detail to my food at home for my kids or my friends and my family. But then when I'm finished catering and cooking, sometimes I just go down and have a bowl of cornflakes for myself, because I would prefer to give you my portion. Like if it got 10 people and I'm the 11th person, I'll give you and serve you. I'm still like that, and then I'll eat whatever else is left. If I want to be catered to, I end up going into our own restaurant. But if I'm home, I end up always, just taking the offcuts of something. So enough of the times I end up going eating a bowl of Frosty Flakes or having some crisps or something easy for myself. If the portions doesn't stretch along into my way, I prefer to see you happy or enjoy or hear your criticism on so forth through off of my portion. I mean,
yeah, go ahead, how lucky are your kids that they get to eat gourmet meals for free?
They're cracking. They're cracking lot. I'm quite thankful in that respect when it comes to my kids. Like, they don't, even if it's something, they don't really have like, oh, I don't like this, don't like that. Even if they don't like something, with me, they don't really ever say. They would still try it. They'll eat caviar, lobster. They will eat ceviche. They will eat sushi. They will eat medium or medium rare meat. They might say, "Oh, I don't really want tomatoes," but if I make it in tomatoes and this and sauce, they will still eat it. So they're very open-minded, and I think that's quite good, because kids now these days, they just omit everything and they end up being intolerant to this and intolerant to that. And so far, all my kids are quite okay with when it comes to eating and having a gourmet appetite.
Awesome. Now, it is obvious to the world that Kerth Gumbs is or is becoming one of the most famous celebrity chefs. And one of your steps in that direction was the fact that you were on Great British Menu. Tell us about, well, first of all, tell us why you applied for that show, or did they come to you, and what the experience was like.
Yeah, it was an exhilarating experience. They actually found me. I think for a long time I've been sharing a lot of my food, my work, and different things around. And they came one day. They wrote me an email. They came to the kitchen, and I was actually overwhelmed and thrilled for it to happen, because it's when I moved to the UK in 2004. This program actually started out in 2006, and it was something that I was always watching as I was, going through the kitchens and, grafting. And I always admired it, and I always wanted to be on that show. And now, 15 series, which is 15 years later, I finally got a chance to do that. So when they came to the kitchen, it was more a matter of not only if you can cook, but if you can, be filmed and concentrate and cook under pressure and so forth like that. It was
and have really a personality.
And have a personality. So they did that part, and really at the end of the thing, from the get-go, the lady just said, "I can tell you now, no, I can tell you now, Kurt. Yeah, you're gonna be on the show." And I was laughing because she was saying "Oh yeah, you got to take it back to her producers and so forth, and they're all gonna go through the footage that they did of me in the kitchen, just talking to her, answering questions while I'm cooking some stuff in service." And she told me that, but I still wasn't sure. And then they wrote me the email telling me this, and this. A couple of weeks later, I got through. I'm selected. And what they're gonna need, X, Y, and Z, about the brief, which was 150 years of children's literature. So we had to cook, make a 6-course menu based on children's books. And you had about 6 weeks to present them with that, and then an additional week with the ideas, with the recipes, etc. And that was, it was a process. It was because, I knew of the pedigree of chefs that go on to this this Great British Menu for years, and I really knew that I had to dig deep and try to do what I do, but on a more complimentary level to what it was, in terms of hitting the brief and having the food flavorsome, having the food attractive, having the correct props, the equipment they're going to use, and still being able to try somehow to be myself. So that was really good. You do the first week, you're going to be cooking off, which they change the format against 4 chefs from London, all who, get selected, obviously. We had to do, the amuse-bouche, the starter, fish course, main course, pre-dessert, and dessert. And we do those over different days over the week while you're being filming. And after the fish course, they will eliminate someone, and then they'll leave you with 3 chefs fighting for the whole menu to the Thursday. And then on the Thursday, they will eliminate another chef and leave 2 chefs fighting for the title for London. And then on the Friday, because that would be a whole new 3 judges. It was one veteran chef, which would have been a celebrity chef, judging us for the first 4 days. And on the 5th day, it would be a different panel of judges, 3 now. And we cook the whole menu over again, me and the other chef. And they taste blind, and then they score us out of 10. And I was a champion for that, which was was an experience that I can't even explain. I put into words. It was very, very, very rewarding.
Everything was justified at that moment, eh?
Yeah, and right away I knew, okay, now you got to get ready for the finals. And obviously, the finals is going to consist of 7 other regions. So there are going to be 7 other winners plus myself. So it was 8 regions altogether. So London, you're going to have Wales, you're going to have Scotland, you're going to have Ireland, you're going to have, Northwest. So it was, I knew it was going to be very, very tough competition.
How was that pressure knowing that London was on your back?
I don't know. I think when I felt most of my pressure is when I reached to the finals and I actually saw who I was up against, the competitors. They had 2 different chefs had 2 Michelin stars to their name. Another 2 chefs had 1 star to their name. So that's already 4 or 5 chefs had Michelin stars, and there was only 8 of us there. And I was like, wow, this is gonna be a tough competition. This is going to be a tough competition. So I was trying to, let me just talk you through, I'll just talk you through my dishes quickly. So I did for Miami's Bouche, which was a twist on a Johnny cake. So I did like this crab Johnny cake with caviar and salmon roe and a smoked hickory mayonnaise. Then I did Peter Rabbit for my starter, which was Mr. McGregor's Garden, the walled garden, which is just based on carrots, like 8 different elements of carrots: carrot cocktail, carrot sorbet, baked carrots, pickled carrots, the whole lot with goat cheese and walnut. Then I did one of my most successful dishes, which was called Commotion in the Ocean, which was based on like lobster. It was basically lobster, cauliflower, and like a lemongrass curry sauce.
I remember seeing that in a video. I mean, it was excellent presentation. It was just phenomenal. I know.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, there's the Anguilla inspiration coming out.
Thank you. Yeah, they quite got a lot of good feedback on that one. Then I did for my main course the 3 Little Pigs. Because it's a book that I remember growing up with. All the rest of the books, the rest of the books and stuff is like the Peter Rabbit and everything is like I started getting them once I was up here in the UK. Then I did pre-dessert. I did a pre-dessert which I actually had to do a new pre-dessert for a different book when I got to the banquet, which I'll speak about a bit later. Then for the dessert, I did another book called The Faraway Tree, and that was as well another high scoring dish. So for the finals, which was my dessert course. So yeah, being in the finals, seeing the competition that I was on, knowing I'm representing London. London is a very competitive region, obviously, and the talent was second to none. And most of all, it was a humbling experience. I was happy to be there. I was happy to be amongst these chefs and get a chance to do what I've been doing all these years. And was I intimidated? Yeah, I think I was intimidated. I was shaking. I was nervous. But as I said before, it was good nerves from a good place, because I wanted to test myself.
Right.
For all these years, and you want to make yourself an asset to yourself, but this was my chance. This was a chance for me to say, Kerth, was that all worth it? All that hard work, those pain, those sleepless nights, those days when you feel you're sick, but you can't call sick. I just stuck with it and keep doing it. And I had a roller coaster for the finals. My starter course came last, my fish course came fourth, and I knew that fish course could have been higher. I knew it in myself, but on that day, just I don't know, I felt it wasn't to my 100%. And even producers text me and they said that they love the dish and they've seen it 100 times. Sometimes you just don't get it as right as you were accustomed, because you got noise, because this and that and cameras, blah, blah, blah. But it was it is. I still had a great experience. Then I went on to my main course, and that as well fall down low. And I was like, whoa. That night I actually had, like, in my sleep, this panic attack, because I when I finished cook, I just wanted to get back into the kitchen. I didn't want to sleep. I just wanted to let's go. I was sleeping, dreaming of my dessert course. I'm up first, and I was actually having a dream about actually getting some dark chocolate. And for some reason, I couldn't reach the chocolate, and I was sweating, and my heart was palpitating.
Oh no!
Was going. Yeah, I was a nervous wreck in the middle of my sleep, like 1 a.m. I would wake up every 15 minutes, checking to see if it's 5:30 yet. Let's go. I couldn't get back in the kitchen because I had one last chance, and that's the opportunity that a lot of people always ask for. And I knew that I wanted to do something with it, and I just couldn't sleep. I ran into and everyone who saw the program on a Friday, I was a little bit different. Because it's the last chance to get something there. I was just a little bit different, and I had to nail every element. And my dessert was as well adventurous. It had like 12 to 14 elements on it, and I was plating first. So that whole experience again, they'll ask me, "Oh, would you want to go back?" I wouldn't say no, but it's because it's just so just into your face right now, and I knew how it is when you're actually on set and you are competing. The adrenaline rush and the nerves and everything, it just got you into a big mess. And if you're unable to try to manage them, I think you're going to make a lot more mistakes than a lot of people. So it was an awesome experience.
Definitely.
Awesome.
And now a lot more people know who Kerth Gumbs is. And I'm sure there's a lot of eyes on you now.
Yeah. I've had, even on the days that of the dishes that I didn't do well in, I've had lots of complimentary messages, emails, everybody, talking. And I was unaware of it because I didn't get to see myself back. But everybody was thinking, and they thought I was gracious and humbled, and they loved the way I come across and being a personality on TV, and I didn't make it boring and everything. And for that part of it, I was quite happy because sometimes I think you can come across a bit awkward on TV. And a lot of people was, commenting that it was a good show and it was entertaining, and they were actually happy that through my roller coaster of the finals that I still managed to get to the banquet. And even though I didn't get to the banquet with one of the main 4 courses, I got to the banquet with the pre-dessert, which was amazing because I had to then go back to the drawing board and create a whole new something to the Big Friendly Giant, which is the BFG children's book, in 2 weeks to get something new to go there. And then I reached there and everybody really loved it. And I think about it after the experience that, you know what, it was a different route, but same destination. And sometimes the opportunities or your victories doesn't come in as exactly the same format as you might think it is, as coming first, second, or third. People have done the competition for more than 2 years, and they've never made it to the banquet. And for me, having to make it there on my first year, I was extremely proud of myself, and I thought that was a victory in itself, given the experience and the overall competition. I think this year was an amazing brief. It gives almost every chef, I speak for them, to a platform where they can just use unlimited creativity and tap into unlimited imagination and just go really wonkers with food,
Awesome. Who inspires you, Kerth?
So that was a tricky question for me to answer. I think it's where I get inspiration from. I think I could be when it comes to my food creation, I get inspired by the seasons, what's in season. But at the same time, I can be riding to work. I can see a graffiti. I can see a brick pattern on a wall or something, and I pick up different artistic inspirations from these things.
So art as a whole, definitely. Okay.
Yeah, art as a whole, definite. But it's never from just one particular plane for me to get inspiration. It comes randomly from different places. It could be art, which are, fashion. It could be
dance
product,
or writing or anything.
yes,
Okay.
product design, anything like that. I can get inspiration from. It just comes. I have a process of how I like to get to 70% complete when I'm creating a dish by thinking of what's in season, followed by the methods and techniques of what I would like to apply to each of the individual ingredients. Once I have that, I then know which technique I want to apply based on, do I want a foam, a gel, a spuma, a crisp, a sauce, a jelly, or something like this. And then once I have that, I start to think about the contrast each element is going to give me in terms of colors and textures. And that goes to follow up with choosing a suitable vehicle. Which type of plate? Is it a bowl? Is it a cup? Is it a plate, a wide plate, a small plate, oval plate, a rectangle plate, something like that? And that normally brings me to 70% complete in my mind of what I want to do when it comes to food. But that is 70%, but it's the last 30% is the part that really pushes you. It's the last 30% that is much more difficult. Always the ending, because I think many times when a lot of chefs as well, you think about food in your mind. The hardest thing to do is to take that idea from your mind and onto a plate in the same manner of how you thought about it in your mind. Because when you think about it in your mind, you might think about it in bells and jingle bells and whistles, and it's looking all boom. But when you start to bring that idea from your mind onto a plate, you'll quickly realize that it's probably not as practical, because you then think about what you have, your abilities, your storage, your strengths of your kitchen, and people that's going to be able to replicate it and be consistent. It doesn't make sense. I do everything that only me can do. It has to be what all of us can do together collectively as a team. So as you start to bring this idea out, it starts to go backwards. So that 70% couldn't go back to 65 because I got to change something, and you got to taste it, and you taste everything together. And does it work? No, I may change this, take out this, cure this some more, cook this some less, whatever, just to get that 30%, it takes you another 2 or 3 drafts, because I like to do my dishes on draft basis before I can say, okay, it's complete. And then the last 10% is me thinking, how is the customers should receive it? How should they eat? Do I want them to have it all together in a scoop, layer after layer of flavor? Do I want them to plate? Do I want them to have a side vehicle? Do I want the waiter to present it left to right, right to left? Then, so this is what I'm saying. The first 70% is quite quick. The last 30% for me is that fine-tuning, that attention to detail, that understanding the experience that you want your customer to receive. That is the part where it takes you to a whole nother level of translating your inspiration from your mind and onto a plate.
It's quite tedious. Now, what would you say to 16-year-old Kerth? What advice would you give to your 16-year-old self?
Probably be a little bit more. My 16-year-old self. Well, let me just think about it for a second. Definitely, because I said, when I was 16, it was a lot of trial and error I've had. It was a very hot period of my upcoming, and I probably would be a bit more patient. I would say to be a bit more patient, but meaning to be less short-tempered. Because the 16-year-old me was a nutter. Let's just put it that way. But I think if I could have, if there's anything I could have done to help me find this path sooner, it probably would have been, being a little bit more less hot-headed, a bit more patience, and actually, how do I say that now? I think I'll have to leave it at that. I think, just be less hot-headed, a little bit more patience. The reason why I said that, because when I'm thinking of the 16-year-old myself, I remember vividly I was always, begging for, in myself, not out loud, the opportunity to just get away and see a little bit of the world,
Right.
and do different. I had my name on my mother's passport until I was like 12 or something like that. I didn't really travel anywhere else but like St. Martin. Never really got on planes or anything like that. When I started to get on planes is when I started to get on the track and field team. And the reason why I got onto the track and field team is because I found out that they was just sending people to Antigua and all kinds of places for free. And all they had to do is run. And we used to run every weekend. We used to run catching goats. And that's how I got fast, just catching goats and selling wild goats, And then when I heard that, they send you all these places and hotels with swimming pools, and I was like, really? So I went and I tried out, and I got on there, got onto the gym thing, and just started running my heart out and getting to go to Canada and Antigua and this place and that place just for running. So
once you saw places like Canada, you were sold. You wanted to get out.
Yeah. And the first time I saw snow is when I came to London. I was doing like what they were doing at Home Alone. Macaulay Culkin, he was blowing smoke out his mouth with how cold it was, and I was there doing that. It was funny. It was so, because I haven't seen any of those things. So, all up to 16 years old, I've never been really anywhere big on planes otherwise than stuff in the Caribbean until I went to Canada.
Indeed. Kerth, tell us a bit about Omer.
So Omer was opened in I think 2016, so we're just about 4 years now. I was on board from the get-go. It was a nutshell. It was just a construction site. There was a hotel there before, but the actual concept of Omer in the kitchen it was brand new. So I had a friend that introduced me to the executive chef that wanted to open this concept of Omer. He had another Omer in Jersey, which had a 1 Michelin star.
Wow.
And he,
Jersey, the country, the island. The island, sorry, not the state.
Channel Islands, Jersey.
Yeah.
The first Omer was there, which he had, and he was starting to expand his footprint in London on the mainland, and he was going to do that with another restaurant he had and the sister restaurant as Omer. So I went in, I did my interviews, and I had about 6 or 7 different interviews along with cook-offs to try to secure the job. They asked me for a 3-course meal. I gave them 6, and then they were like, "Okay, you're narrowing up," and they said, "I want to see how you will do in a Michelin star kitchen, running this and that." So they sent me to Jersey for 3 months, where I had to gel with the boys that he had there, the team, and effectively run the kitchen with his head chef that he had there, and run the service and learn the way they do things there. And I was working there for about 3 months. Every week, every Friday, I would present dishes. But I had no communication of really understanding whether I'm how high or how low on the casting list to be accepted for this job. I didn't know what the salary packet was, nothing. So I was just in Jersey for 3 months working, and I didn't know when I'm going to get paid, what I'm going to get paid, what I'm working towards to. Just because I knew that it was going to be a fine dining restaurant. The sister restaurant has a star, and we were looking to basically achieve the same thing. So once I got confirmation that you are successful and I got the job, moved back onto the mainland in London. We go through the processes of setting everything up. And that was really it wasn't something that I was afraid of, because I've done openings, but never in the head chef role before. But I've done a few openings in other restaurants in Singapore. I did an opening for the Jason Nathan. I did opening with Joe Robuchon as well, and so I kind of had an idea. But as you say, you don't ever learn everything unless you're completely submerged in it.
Right.
And some of the things that I didn't know, which I was holding myself back, saying that I wanted to learn them, which was a bit more about paperwork and so forth on the computers. I was always the chef that was more active. There's two types of chefs: the ones that just could be on the computers and deal with all the Excel sheets, and then there's the actual chefs that's in the kitchen creating and pushing out the food. So I always was that one, being on the ground, really being active like a soldier. And I was holding myself back in one job for like 5 years, thinking that I would learn this computer side of things at some point. But it never really came. And I was like, well, no, why is it holding back? I went, I did it, interviews, and I said, like, I think is my weak part, my weak spot. But this is not an area that you need to worry about when it comes to cooking or creating. So, at the end of the day, you went in it, you went with the flow, and you learned some of the things once you were actually in the driver's seat. Mm-hmm. And there's still things that I don't know, but fair enough. We've made it 4 years around. You've had wonderful reviews, great accomplishments, acknowledgements to the style of food, to the service and the experience that we offer. So I think, I'm still here, just ready to learn a lot more things as I go along. And once we opened in 2016, fastly after that, in 2017, there was like a program which was Master Chefs, which was going to be filmed in our kitchen. The contestants was going to be filming in our kitchen, and we had to do some dishes for the contestants to do. And I created an apple crumble, which was something that's iconic to British cuisine as an apple crumble, but I did it in a modern way, and it did well on top of the program. The way it looked, the way it tastes, it had all the flavors of an apple crumble, but it doesn't look anything like an apple crumble, and it become a little bit signature or iconic, because as soon as that Master Chef program aired and everyone saw the dishes and the apple crumble, our telephone lines and reservations just crashed. We had like in 3 hours like 800 bookings. Everything was like,
goodness.
Yeah, it was going crazy. So that was a good experience. And more so in the beginning, in the first 2 years, I was working like a madman. Sometimes I'll go in for breakfast at 5:30 and I'll finish at 11:30 at night. All day.
Unbelievable.
Never taking really a break, because I don't smoke and I don't need to go outside to smoke or anything like that. I stay in the kitchen always doing something else and just getting by. So that was intense. That was crazy. But we were building something, and I learned a lot of things as well during that period as well about myself, because trying to do everything and perfect everything and doing it by yourself, a lot of the time you were losing a lot of staff as well. The turnover, because they wasn't ready to apply themselves to the same level that we were. So I had to change my management side a little bit and have everybody a bit more involved, and that's why I started to do all the tastings and drafts and everything together, because I don't think like we should wait for someone to have to teach you something. Yes, you should try to take the initiative to learn more, but some of the things that I know that I was missing, I offered up to them from the get-go at the basics for free. Like, for instance, like we do always do like once a month a skills test on prepping fish and meat. And I know if you're a commie, you probably don't know how to prep fish, so you're gonna, 9 out of 10 times you're gonna mess it up anyways. But if you don't mess it up, you don't get an opportunity to grow and get better. So I take that, I absorb that course onto myself, in the hopes that you will get better, and on the third time you won't mess it up as the same as the first time. Right. Instead of waiting that for you to get to a certain level to say, oh, now you can learn how to fillet fish. If you're interested, I teach you from the get-go, from apprentice.
Excellent. What's next for Kerth?
Next for Kerth, Yes, I think I'm still on my path. I have a lot that I still want to do. One of my next big aspiration was always to try to secure a Michelin star for myself. That's still, yet to be achieved. But I'm not going to kill myself and say I'm only focusing on the Michelin star. I think I focus on the people around me, because I think it's through them is where the Michelin star is obtained, because the Michelin star is not just only with my ideas and the creations, because I don't cook every single thing for everybody, every customer. It's the people, it's my chefs. So I try to give them and have them thought with a Michelin mentality. Then hopefully we'll be able to achieve it, whether it's on a day that I'm off or I'm on, that we have the same consistency. So I think that's something that I would like to get to. Right now, I don't know what my very immediate next plans is, because this COVID-19 has actually put everybody
on pause.
Into the same. Yeah. I'm literally, well, if you talk about what I'm really, really doing next, from tomorrow, I'm back in the kitchen, because on Wednesday I'm starting a Omer at home experience. So I'll be doing a little bit of a high-end takeaway menu for 3-mile radius to be delivered for your experience and to be enjoyed at home. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. After that, I don't know. I think a lot of things is, as you said, on pause, because the program, it came out, and yes, it had a lot of viewings. Everybody's home, everybody looking for an entertaining show to watch, so a lot of people tuned in, but you don't really get anything back from it right now, because nobody's allowed to go out to enjoy anything. So
I'm pretty sure they'll remember you.
At some point, eventually, I'll want to have my name above a door in terms of my own restaurant and so forth. But where and when, again, that's something else I need to learn, because throughout all the times and all the people that I've worked for, I do understand that it's important not just to jump into things and actually have people who's invested in the same vision as you are in terms of the business partners that you're going to have, or the investors. So that's something I'll probably have to get my head wrong at some point in time, because you don't want to end up chefs of passionate people. You can't work and be disgruntled, and then you're not going to be able to create. And if you're not able to create, then you can't really give a better self to a better business. Indeed. You have to be in a good mindset.
So the ultimate goal is to have that name above the door at some point.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, Kerth, this is a segment that I like to call "The Planet Is Yours." I strap on my space suit, and I jump out into the atmosphere, and I leave you on the planet alone. You're on Planet 30 alone. Whatever you want to say to the people, the floor is open.
No. All right, then. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for having me, Crispin. It's always interesting to be able to, for me to, share my story. And I know some parts may be a little bit unclear. It's a long story. It's over 16 years of work. And that's like with everything in life. There's always going to be a hidden stone. There's always going to be a corner. But, you yourself, me, myself, I'm happy to have found the platforms where I'm able to share some of my knowledge, some of my experience, whether it's through different podcasts or through tutorials or just people who comes and visit me in the kitchen. I've had even some local chefs from the island that spend some time in my kitchen. I had Aaron Gumbs, who's the apprentice in my kitchen from the island. I've also had Kelson Connor, who spent some time in my kitchen, and they got a front row seat to seeing what I do, and I would hope that more people from the islands to not be persuaded not to take advantage of their lives and seek out and not just stay comfortable in your comfort zone and stay into the islands. I'm not saying you're not going to go back. I'm saying sometimes you have to leave to be able to to get yourself more credited, and then to bring some diversity back home to the land. And I think a lot of times we need to shake the fear or the insecurities, because we are only so used to our small regimes. Go out, try something in a different country, whether it's in America or the UK or wherever, as far as possible, and I guarantee you, in 1 year's time, you'll come back with a lot more to be able to offer to not yourself, but your family, your friends, and hopefully to the country. So that's all I really wanted to say.
Awesome. Hey, just out of curiosity, what is your favorite Anguillan dish? That thing that you reach for as soon as you get home.
I know every time I'm leaving to come back from Anguilla, I always have coconut top from Hall's Bakery.
Of course.
I always try to buy them in the morning before I go to catch the ferry back, because like about 6 or 10 or something like that, to travel with them back, get them into my freezer, and I can have them every now and then.
How do people? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would say when I was back last year, though, which again, something new that I'd never been before, I was invited down to cook for this Extraordinary Eats event around Festival Del Mar. That was very good as well. I got to try a lot more of the local dishes. It reminded me when I was a youngster, when they used to do the jollification. So I got to try a lot of different things at Festival Del Mar, which was more of the local delicacies. So that was nice as well.
The lobster and the crayfish and the snapper and the
and the conch.
And the
conch lasagna. That's some of how that, yeah.
They're very creative. How do we contact you? Social media, website.
I'm always on social media. Instagram, you can find me there at Kerth Gumbs. The same thing. I'm on Twitter, but I would say I'm more active on my Instagram for professional purposes. You'll see much more of inspiring culinary uploads daily or every second day, and my Facebook is the same. But definitely, I would say to follow me on Instagram if you are interested in keeping up with what I'm doing, and that's just at Kerth Gumbs, KerthGumbs.
Awesome. Master Chef, I'm putting it out into the universe, future Michelin star owner and future restaurant owner, the incomparable Kerth Gumbs. Thank you for joining us on Planet 30.
Thank you for having me. Anytime, Christian.
All right, thanks a lot. I am Crispin Brooks, and this is Planet 30. Thank you for listening to this episode of Planet 30. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at OnPlanet30. Like us on Facebook.com/Planet30. Our email address is onplanet30@gmail.com. That's OnPlaneThirty@gmail.com. For more information about Planet 30, visit our website, planet30.com. That's PLANETTHIRTY.com.